Oftentimes, when people buy properties, they are not careful enough to know which of the documents are one of the most crucial documents in terms of buying properties. So in today's video, I'll be telling you one of the most important documents you have to watch out for if you want to buy a landed property in Nigeria. All right, there are other important documents, but this is one of the most important documents. Okay, and what is the name of this document? It is simply called a deed of assignment. All right, it is simply a document that transfers the legal ownership of a property from the seller to the buyer. All right, what this means is that if you are a buyer, you want to buy a property, there should be a document that will transfer the ownership of that property from the seller to you, a buyer. So it is very important that you have a deed of assignment in your property transaction. Very important. All right, and by virtue of our laws, a deed of assignment can only be prepared by a legal practitioner, and by a legal practitioner I mean a lawyer. It's only a lawyer that's entitled or that is vested with the powers to prepare that legal document called a deed of assignment. All right, now I'll be talking about some of the important contents of a deed of assignment. All right, so all these are things you need to watch out for in your deed of assignment when it's being prepared for you by your lawyer. Okay, the first thing there is the address of the parties. All right, the names and address of the parties rather. So a deed of assignment should contain the names of the parties as well as the detailed addresses of those parties. Okay, this will help save a lot of fracas in the future. All right, the way the name of the buyers and the sellers are in reality, that's the same way they should be put in that deed of assignment. So there shouldn't be any misspelling as regards to their names. Where there will be T, you have to put A, or so on and so forth. There shouldn't be any misspellings. Okay, this is very, very important. All right, apart from that, we equally have another content of that deed of assignment, which is a vivid description of the property. Okay, a deed of assignment should vividly describe the property that is being conveyed from Mr. A, who is the seller, to Mr. B, who is the buyer. All right, the description of the property should, if there is a survey there, it should contain both the survey plan, the beacon numbers, the surveyor that's actually surveyed the land, and other things in the survey documents. All right, if it is a property such as a plot of land, it should painstakingly describe that particular plot of land, the location, the size if possible, the plots, okay, the square meter if possible. All right, next on the list is the reciter. This is very important. The reciter is simply a part in that deed of assignment that traces the title. Okay, it traces the title of the seller, even subsequent seller that sold it to the seller, that is the previous seller, and so on and so forth. So what this means is that the reciter contains how the title, how the ownership of the property was transferred to the seller before it got to you. Let me give you an illustration. For instance, Mr. A wants to sell a particular land to you. What the reciter does is that it traces the ownership of that land. Okay, it traces the ownership of that land before it goes to Mr. A. Let's say, for instance, if Mr. A bought that land from a family, maybe probably a family, and was given a receipt as well as a deed of assignment dated a particular date, that deed of assignment should contain this information. The reciter should contain this information. Okay, this is because when dispute arise in future, will be, or rather the court or the person will be able to trace how title came into the hands of the seller. All right, and apart from that, we also one of the reason why the reciter is important is that if a person who doesn't really have the capacity to sell that particular land sells it to you, it means that title has not passed to you. So what this means is that nemo dat quod non habet. You cannot give what you don't have. Someone that doesn't have a good title to a particular plot of land cannot sell it to another person. All right, so that's for the reciter. So now we equally have another part of the deed that is called the consideration. All right, it is basically the amount of money that is being paid for that particular plot of land or property. So it should be clearly be written there. If the consideration is money, it should be stated there. Okay, very, very important, both in words and in figures. All right, now the next thing on the list is the signatures of the parties. All right, the parties ought to sign on that list. That's where you should see the signs sealed and delivered. The parties have to sign. All right, then the witness equally have to sign. All right, it is very important because the witness have to sign, stating his name, his address, his occupation, the date, and the signature. They should all be there. All right, so having said that, one important content of this of assignment is the indemnity clause. Don't miss it. It is very important. The indemnity clause is simply a clause in the deed of assignment that helps to protect the buyer. All right, it indemnifies the buyer. This means that if peradventure something happens in future, the buyer is being protected and the seller would have to pay for any damages that might have resulted in such breach of agreements. All right, so that's why the indemnity clause is very important. It states that if there's any issue that arises as regards to this land, the seller we indemnify, that is, we compensate the buyer for any loss or anything at all whatsoever on that land. So that particular clause is important. All right, it is important. Now, having said that, it is pertinent to emphasize that there are other clauses or there are other content of deed of assignment. However, I just want to state the most crucial ones briefly. All right, there are other clauses there. Okay, having said that, it is equally important to say that the deed of assignment, the parties to the deed of assignment can be normal parties like you and I, like normal parties. It can be corporate entities. Okay, it can be incorporated trustees. What this means is that human beings can actually be parties to this deed of assignment. Incorporated trustees or companies can actually be parties to this assignment. So if this deed of assignment is probably the buyer or the seller is a company, then the company's seal should be stamped on that document. The company that's either selling it or buying it must have its seal affixed to that document, that deed of assignment. All right, and not just that, the secretary as well as the head of the company, could be the manager, they will have to sign on that deed of assignment. Okay, if it's an incorporated society such as the church, mosques, similar thing applies. Okay, they are authorized members such as the secretary or the pastors in charge of that particular church have to sign. This is important in case of unforeseen contingencies. Okay, if peradventure someone who is not the pastor or an authorized representative of that church or the managing director of a company signs these documents, it goes to nothing. All right, so it's important that the proper parties to this agreement are the ones that will append their signature or they affix their seal on these documents. So don't let anybody deceive you. The deed of assignment is very important and it can only be prepared by a lawyer. All right, many times I do see people come to my inbox to ask me if this deed of assignment can be prepared by an agent or if they can take it to a business center. But you're only sitting on a time bomb, because when dispute arises in future, if you take that deed of assignment to the court or something like that, they won't give it, more credence won't be given to it. So it is safer to allow a legal practitioner prepare your deed of assignment. As a matter of fact, any party who is not a lawyer that prepares a deed of assignment in exchange of money there's a punishment attached to it, which is some terms of imprisonment, as well as payment of fines. Okay, so meet a lawyer to prepare your deed of assignment. And to keep getting important information and updates like this, do well to subscribe to my channel, follow my pages, and then keep yourself affixed to this channel. Share to your friends and loved ones so that they too can understand what it is to own a land, and then the necessary documents that are important in purchase of a land. Okay, so see you when I see you again. Bye bye.